Thank you to all of you for being here. You are in the Mentoring Club room. Our topic for today is exploring the benefits of peer mentoring, and we have Dr. Lesley Petersen and Lisa Galea as our guests. They will share with us their experiences on peer mentoring. So, the Mentoring Club is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we're based out of Silicon Valley in Mountain View, California. Our mission is to provide a mentoring community for aspiring and seasoned leaders so that anywhere in the world we can help working people find the mentors who could help guide them to achieve their career and life goals. And we want them to be able to find meaningful work because we believe that meaningful work is what gets the leaders in us come out. Our long term vision is that as mentees become successful leaders themselves, that they will also become mentors to others. And that is how the cycle of mentoring and giving back can continue in a sustainable manner. I will give the floor to Hong.
Thanks, Liesel, and thanks everybody for joining. I'm going to dive right in because we have a lot to cover. I think it's a big new topic. As mentees and mentors, for example, in the Mentoring Club, we are accustomed to traditional one-on-one mentoring. In fact, we are planning for the Mentoring Club to introduce group mentoring, and that's a different configuration. However, for tonight, we are going to learn something about peer mentoring, also known as co-mentoring. What is that? That's what we're going to learn from Dr. Lesley Petersen and from Lisa Galea, two practitioners from Down Under, New Zealand and Australia, respectively, and they will share with us. So for context, just so you know, not that we talk about that particular program, but the context of where they have applied it is we will be saying PNG very often. You wonder what that is. PNG stands for Papua New Guinea, an island country of about 9 million inhabitants, close and north of the eastern half of Australia. So in 2020, the Australian government contributed about $500 million to help PNG with the recovery from COVID around three particular pillars. One is COVID preparedness and mitigation. Number two, defense and policing partnership between the two countries. And then third, loan refinancing and economic engagement. Pretty big deal. And within that program, Dr. Lesley Petersen is the mentoring specialist. She's from Hawke's Bay in New Zealand, and she designed the mentoring program for women alumni to support them in leading civil society when they go back to Papua New Guinea. Welcome, Lesley. I would like to have you introduce yourself a little bit.
Thanks, Hong, and thanks for the introduction. As Hong says, that's my area of work and specialty is mentoring and particularly in designing and implementing programs. And as you've said, the context we're talking from today is the mentoring program that has been set up in Papua New Guinea. I was brought in to help design the model for that and implement it. And now it's in its second year. So I'm sort of managing, coordinating that with a team based in Papua New Guinea. So all of my contact and involvement has been from New Zealand. So it's all been completely virtual and online. It's a 2-year pilot. So we're sort of halfway through our second year of the pilot. And then we're going to look at what comes next. That's me.
Great. Thank you very much, Lesley. And now I'd like to introduce Lisa. Lisa, with her background in digital marketing and behavioral science, Lisa is from Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia, and she's the driver of that particular mentoring program, the program that's designed by Lesley here. As you can see, they are co-mentoring that program. So welcome, Lisa. A little word of introduction.
Thank you so much, Hong. Yes, I've had the privilege to be involved with the program with Dr. Lesley as a mentor and also discussing facilitating meetings. And we've developed a peer relationship during that time we've worked together, which has just been really lovely and also really beneficial, I think, not just to the program, but to ourselves. So it's been a really lovely experience. Thank you.
All right. What is peer mentoring? How does peer mentoring distinguish from traditional mentoring?
For me, in the work that I do, and obviously very much with the relationship that Lisa and I have set up, the mentoring relationship, the expert novice model, which is your traditional model, is very much founded on that someone who's more experienced being the mentor of a less experienced person as the mentee. My conception and also practice of peer mentoring is that it's a very equal, reciprocal relationship where each person is seen as equal in the peer learning and the partnership, and they both gain outcomes for themselves. With the peer mentoring relationship I have with Lisa, neither of us sort of think that the other person is more expert or is the only one who can be the mentor of each other. Because we have our own areas of expertise and skill, we share that across in what we would call our partnership. So there are some things that I would look to Lisa and say, hey, look, what do you think? Or I'm stuck here, or I know you've got lots of knowledge in this area and I'd love to sort of pick your brains on it. And she'll do the same with me. It's not to say that in that expert novice model that can't happen, but often it's not seen as happening the same way. That often it's more the mentee looking to the mentor for that guidance and that counselling and that advising and those sorts of things. Whereas with Lisa and I, it's very much a two-way, equal level. I'll learn from you, you'll learn from me. So we both take on a mentor-mentee role at any stage of time in that partnership.
Is it completely fluid and you're a two-person team of mentors working together as a single team, or do you switch back and forth from mentee to mentor and have a setup to switch back and forth? Can you please describe that?
It's a very organic relationship where
Mm,
really we're just supporting each other, not just in areas to do with Papua New Guinea or to do with our actual program, but to do with general support in all different things in life where we might want to just discuss something, and having that person who is there to, I think, as you have respect for the way that they know how to active listen, they know how to actually, it's just a relationship that's developed really as a support system. It flips back and forward. It exists on that equal plane. It's an equal plane with my mentee. I think of her as an equal, but I wouldn't go to her and actually share what I was struggling with. Whereas in this relationship, it's very equal exchange.
In order to succeed at doing this, is there a particular mindset to have in order to more likely to succeed, or practices or something like that for peer mentoring to be effective? Or embracing, for example, embracing vulnerability where you are very open about not being sure about something or not knowing something. Is there any such thing that's really important, like a mindset or a practice?
To be able to be a mentee or maybe even a mentor, you have to have that vulnerability to be able to say, I'm struggling with this.
Hmm.
And that is a very important, I think I missed out on having mentors early on in my career because I was so focused on proving that I could do everything. Whereas if I'd have asked for help, I know there was people out there who would have helped me. And it probably would have made it a little bit quicker, the journey. So I
Mm.
think that vulnerability is always necessary in to have a relationship work like that.
Those are the things that are needed in mentoring in any case, I think in general, and then maybe this may be even more required.
I think with any mentoring relationship, there's that intentionality and that agreement and that understanding of what the relationship is. So I don't have the intention of waiting for Lisa to ask me for my expert help because that's not what it's about. Vice versa, we might, but it's not that whole intentionality around I'm not the only person with the knowledge and skills. I'm not the only person who
Mm.
can find the answers or give you some guidance. So my intention is to, and I think in this peer mentoring that we're talking about, my intention is always, or our intention is always that, we come back to that terminology around equal partnership, that we're coming in it together and we'll take on that mentor-mentee role and we'll change between them just because it works that way. But we actually acknowledge that. And I think that that's quite important, is that we're sort of really clear on that as well, that actually this is a peer mentoring relationship. Like one of us could say, look, I actually don't really feel that comfortable with that, or not. But I think that that's part of to come back to your question, it has developed organically, but I think we've also talked about it enough that both of us have the same understanding of what this mentoring relationship is.
It just dawned on me right now, as you said, it's really not a relationship of more or higher or deeper expertise. It's a relationship, literally shared responsibility, literally as a single team. As you say that, I couldn't help but thinking a doubles tennis team where the two players, one may be a backhand specialist, the other one is a forehand specialist, and but in any case, it doesn't matter. You're just on the same team playing. I think something like that.
Good example.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a wonderful example. And I think that bringing the energy together, it elevates the results because you are bouncing ideas off each other in much more of a, as you said, when two programmers are working together. We're going to spark ideas and actually bring to the table my opinion on something, and it can actually evolve into a better solution when there's more brains on the same solution. And having that trust, you know, there's someone you can voice something that you are struggling with that's not there to, it's not there in a personal way as a friend as such, even though I do consider Dr. Lesley my friend. We're both thinking in the same, we're thinking about business, we're thinking about the same, we both want to help other people and serve others. So collaborating that knowledge, I really think is beneficial. And for a mentor to have support from another mentor, it increases the results.
To operate in co-mentoring like that as two co-mentors, there is a part of communication because you are two people, right, instead of one. If you're just one person taking on a task, the communication need isn't there. You can make decisions at any point by yourself, whereas in a team, I would imagine there are other requirements for teams to succeed. There needs to be trust. I think you mentioned that, enough communication, frequent communication, that's required. Also an alignment, otherwise you may not be working towards the same end, and that's true with any team. So how does that play out in peer mentoring? Do you establish shared goals or establish such baseline to get started?
So I would say no, but that's because our peer partnership has grown and developed, and it is a, I don't want to use the word informal, but it isn't a formal structure that we're operating in this peer mentoring partnership. In a more formal structure, I would say that there would be good considerations around how are these shared goals or not. But I don't think in a peer partnership that it has to have shared goals. I think it still will come back to the goals that I've got. And I'm just thinking about some examples straight away, like the goals I've got to get better at things in my business that I know Lisa can probably have some really good input into or some guidance for me. I would always come back to those words and listen to the language that Lisa's using too. It's much more around that mutual relationship, that respect of each other. When we come together, when we call on each other, we know that that's how we are operating in that partnership, in that conversation, in that connection.
Yeah, I would say shared values is definitely something we
Yeah,
both
yeah,
have.
good.
We both have the same values, and I would imagine if we were talking, it's almost like we're running our own teams. I don't need to check with Dr. Lesley to make a decision. I'm making my own decisions. But it's wonderful to have someone who is also running their own team. Imagine, I mean, we're talking like in a sports world, and we actually get to share and discuss what's working for us, what's not working for us. Are we struggling with that? What would make my team stronger? Maybe that would work for your team. It's actually more of that mutual, we don't have that formal relationship where we're within a company and we're both on exactly the same problem, but we both, I think, that respect is there, and definitely we both have the same values, which I think is always important for any relationship.
By co-mentoring, you're benefiting from the other person and their strength and their perspective, a different perspective on the same thing. Can you elaborate on what you have experienced as most significant, most substantial benefit of co-mentoring as opposed to just separately mentoring forward in the classic sense? What did you experience as particular specific added benefit that you would not have gotten otherwise?
For me, that's always so much of the giving and the giving forward and the paying forward and the supporting other people and the facilitating and the doing the things that make sure that, which is what my life has been about. My career is about enabling other people to be enabled and enabling themselves. And it's such a pleasure and it's such a relief, I'll use that word, to know that I can get in touch with Lisa and say, hey, look, this is going on or this is happening. And actually, there's someone for me as a mentor. And that's actually a really, really nice feeling. And I think it is very easy, that whole concept of mentoring for mentors, that there's such an expectation that mentors are, they're giving the support, they're being the guide alongside, they're doing that, all of that, taking on that role. My question is always like, but who mentors them? Who supports them? Who gives them some guidance and listens to them and gives them that space to be able to talk and express, sort out challenges or anything that's going on. So that's how I see it, that really special benefit of having someone whom you do trust, respect, and I see as an equal. And I know I can pick up the phone or email and just say, hey, have you got 5 minutes? And I will look forward to having that discussion because I know that it'll be a good, safe discussion, conversation.
Lisa, are you in agreement with that, or do you
Yes.
have other
I hope
things to
so.
I
add to
mean,
that?
obviously, it's so lovely to hear that from Dr. Lesley. I definitely went into this relationship, I would say, as a not considering myself a peer to Dr. Lesley. Her knowledge is amazing. And 2 years ago, I went into the program as a mentor to help with my skill set to the mentees in Papua New Guinea. And it's just been not something I expected, but it's wonderful, as Dr. Lesley says, as a mentor, someone who gives probably a lot. I do give a lot, and that's actually my choice. But sometimes it's really lovely to know that you've got someone else who is also doing that in life, which is sometimes, as I think, as a mentor, you just feel a bit lonely. And that knowing that there's someone else who's doing the same as you, who might be tired, who might have struggled with something, it's just nice to really know that they really understand because they're, as I said, running the same sort of team as you where they're giving. And I think that sharing of tools and sharing of, you just need to voice things that have been struggles. And it's not always about getting answers, it's just knowing that there's someone there for you as a mentor. And I think that's really the benefit I've seen. I've been involved with a lot of different mentoring things over my career. And joining this program and with Dr. Lesley's design, the community of practice, I think was stage one is an amazing way to support your mentors within a business. The gathering once a month of all the mentors. Really, if someone's struggling, we all get to collectively share knowledge and help that person with experiences that they might be able to share with their mentee. And as Dr. Lesley says, it gives you that support system that there's people there that you can bounce ideas off to find the right solution for your maybe mentee. It's a real game changer, and I think it's something I can see as a massive benefits really to mentor programs because it can be lonely out there.
What extra benefit did it bring to the participants, not you as mentors, but to the participants themselves, right? What did your peer mentoring bring to them?
Well, I remember for one situation, my mentee was struggling within a very, very clever lady, I think almost overqualified for her age in Papua New Guinea. She was struggling within corporate situations with males, really struggling with her being team leader. I've never worked in Papua New Guinea. I can learn and I've listened about the culture, but I haven't experienced that myself. Being able to be in the group with Dr. Lesley, having that facilitated group of all mentors once a month, when I put that question out there, there was ladies who'd had experience working in Papua New Guinea offices, and they shared with me their techniques of what had worked for them in finding allies and different things, that strategies. I then had that knowledge to go back and give that to my mentee to help her open her perspectives on different strategies that she might be able to use. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't been able to have that safe place that Dr. Lesley had created for us to be able to share what we're struggling with and also collectively help each other.
Would it make sense, maybe not right now, but at some point in the future, for you to create a version of a guide to peer mentoring for other people to learn and start practicing to pick it up? Is that something that sounds plausible, useful? Would you care to comment on that?
Put the challenge out there, I'll do it. I think it would. I think it would be because one of the things that really intrigued me when I look into this topic about your subject of peer mentoring is that predominantly in the mentoring literature, peer, as in PEER, peer mentoring is still really described as an expert novice relationship. And
Mm.
then for me, it's like, so why call it a peer mentoring model if it's an expert novice model? There's a little bit of literature that I've been able to find that really resonates with me, that is very reflective of what Lisa and I are talking about today. That whole thing about reciprocity and equal partnership, and that's all the things that we've been saying. But there's not a lot, so I think that adding to the literature would be really useful. It's not something I've really thought about too much, certainly in the community of practice space. I've done quite a bit of writing around that, how to set up a COP and all those sorts of things and guidelines, because of the programs that I do work in and with, and like PNG is one of them. But I haven't really written much about the peer mentoring. So, I mean, this has been a really good catalyst for me to be thinking more about that. It's been really super to get Lisa's perspective of it and how much that resonates with mine, and being able to put that into some sort of literature form that other people can access and consider as another model would be great. And I might just very quickly add to that, as a, not disclaimer, it's not the right word, but any model for mentoring that's used has to reflect the purpose of the mentoring support. So peer mentoring doesn't always necessarily work. There will always be there will always be situations where the expert novice model or your group mentoring, as you talked about, Hong, like a COP or group mentoring, which can be a bit different again, it's got to be based on the purpose of the mentoring support. I always say this when I talk to organisations, is that if you're going to put a mentoring in place for a new employee, you're probably going to have more of an expert novice model because they're new and they need someone who knows the organisation well, who can help them in their getting inculcated into the culture and all those sorts of things. But if you have two people who are experienced in their own departments, in their own areas, and they are sort of wanting, like Lisa and I've sort of done, come together to sort of get this nice opportunity to get some support from someone else and someone to listen to them and those sorts of things, then maybe then the peer mentoring model can fit really well. But I think it always has to be based on the purpose of that mentoring support. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to talk about this topic and to be able to share what Lisa and I have done and are doing, and that there's such a lot of pleasure in knowing that that's a reality, that we have this peer mentoring relationship, and that if we can inspire other people to see the benefits of it, that more of them may occur. So thank you very much for the opportunity, Hong and Liesel, and Lisa, of course.
Oh, thanks for sharing. Oh, absolutely. We all benefited from your experience. And Liesel, any announcements to share?
Yes, thank you very much, Hong, again for moderating the room. And thank you to Lesley and Lisa for sharing a lot of insights. I can see some actionable insights from the discussions today. Thank you very much and have a
Bye.
great day, evening, or afternoon, wherever you are. And enjoy the journey.